some of the things that he's saying, they make sense. I had to do research for the new property management in the building that I used to stay in, and I was on a lot of those websites. So when he was saying that collecting the data and aggregating the data is normal, there's nothing wrong with that. That's true. You all were talking past each other. Spirit clarified when he said that it's what they do with the data, the behavior. But if y'all are gonna try to have this conversation and keep talking past each other, looking at the chat, I'm not the only one that's having a difficult time following it. Thank you.
Yeah, if I could, hey guys, can I jump in quick?
Sure, but that's your fault for trying to follow along with anything that Concrete says. So don't put that on us.
Yeah, I wasn't disagreeing with concrete, by the way. So
I said that. I said you clarified.
yeah, yeah.
You said the behavior.
Yeah, and it's tricky too. There's a fine line because he is right that this does happen, and has happened for a long time. But the issue you get into is where is the line between, giving information to set your prices versus like a coordinated, illegal price setting or price fixing. And that's where this line is. And from what I understand, they've pretty much settled here. I don't know if they've actually came to an agreement that this is technically illegal. So it sounded like everyone was right to me. But it's just figuring out where that line is. And I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know exactly where it is. But I know people are just worried that you will get into price fixing territory. And that's never good.
Yep, thank you. That was a beautiful summation.
If it's okay to kind of take a few steps back, I would love to discuss and hear from other people on what their experiences are with the new home buyers, because I'm finding that more like these social media influencers are pushing people away from home ownership. Like I've seen more and more people say that it's not advantageous to be a homeowner, and in fact it's more expensive, and this is why you should rent. um, and I'm noticing when it comes to programs, I don't see people really promoting first time buyer programs as much as I used to. And this may be anecdotal, but I wonder if this is similar in other cities. But I noticed that two or three things have kind of been happening with real estate here. I've seen more people that are like closer to retirement, using their what they believe to be excess money to purchase homes. I have a condo, and in the HOA, there's one guy. He's a former financial exec, and he has purchased 3 units within the HOA, and he's just kind of like, that's how he's choosing to use this money that he feels like he won't need further down the line. I also noticed that I have a cleaning service, and it was just kind of recreational. I picked up more and more clients over the last few years, but I noticed that they have kind of scooped up as Airbnbs all of what would have been the starter homes, and they're in these neighborhoods that were traditionally sought after because they were like walking distance to schools. And so I think that kind of ices out the people that are looking for their first home. And then the other thing I noticed is a lot of assumable loans have popped up. So as people, I believe some of the VA loans may be assumable, but I've noticed this as people who are older move to more retirement areas, those assumable loans have kind of been going to people in their family. And so those homes aren't hitting the market as much as they used to. So has anyone seen that in their space?
Which part about like real estate bros saying you should rent? Was that the first part?
Yeah, kind of all of it. I feel like it's all kind of worked in a mixture to build the space we are now from a real estate perspective.
Um, I mean, there's case to be made for renting. I don't really trust real estate bros because I think sometimes they have ulterior motive. And a lot of it is just to, get clicks and people them, so they have to have like a hot take or something like that. But the way I always see these things are like real estate is super hyper local, honestly. So it's hard to give like broad, an analysis for somebody specifically. Uh, uh, and talk about the like broader market, because it's very it's just hyper local. Like I and also everybody's situation is, you know, very specific. Like you don't know if you have a job that could transfer you, then you may not want to buy a place, and that's the case to be made for doing a rental. um, and then, you know, you don't know what's going on in the city in terms of other developments, you know, around you, in terms of what they're building, what they're not building, what they're zoning, not zoning. So there's like too many variables to just say, yeah, people should buy, or yeah, people should rent. um, I think the myth with buying is that it always goes up, and that's not true. And you can cite a lot of examples recently and also historically over the last 20 years or so where that's not true. There's, just as an example, like there are communities right outside of New York City, like nice, wealthy communities, where a lot of them had peaked in 2001, 2002, and it's taken about 15 to 20 years for them to get back to the prices they were then. So that's just one example. But then you could look more recently at like Salt Lake City, Austin, whatever, and a lot of people who bought in, you know, 2020, 2021, they're having a hard time getting their money back right now.
Yeah, a piece of space. What's good? What's good? What's good? Uh, you have to have you have to have a little bit of, you know, rental and ownership. You know, there are pros and cons, and I think, you know, for me personally, I do both. And because of it, like if you're in New York, so I'm gonna deal with New York. In New York, you got to get in where you fit in. Some New Yorkers have legacy situation take over, you know, their parents' apartments, right? You know, they can take over what's already been in place. Some people can get in through certain, and I'm not talking about public assistance, but other programs. You got
Wait,
to get in
one
with.
Rambo, one second. I want to make sure we're addressing Tiffany's
Oh,
parts
okay,
because
good,
she
okay,
had.
got me. Leave me in us. Where should
Yeah,
I
I just
come in?
wanted to like Tiffany brought up multiple points, so I wanted to make sure it was addressed or reformed if you wanted to help out there as well.
No, that's fine. I think
Okay.
that you're in it, Scotty. The only thing that I'll say before Robert goes, because Tiffany, I do think that was a great question. I do agree with you that they absolutely do not promote home ownership programs. NACA is a good one. There are also several through the states. And Tiffany, I'll make you this offer. I tell it quite a bit if you personally know anyone. I help people find their down payment assistance programs. They're offered through the city, they're offered through the county, they're offered by what people do. Like there are some for teachers here in Harris County. There's some through the state. There's some through the feds. Then there's also, you can layer them like depending on if you use Chase or Wells Fargo, right, or SoFi. And I wish that we actually offered this education like almost in high school, right, along with financial literacy, but Dare to Dream. But there is definitely down payment assistance out there. Like for example, in the city of Houston, they had leftover funds from, I believe it was Hurricane Harvey. So look at this, guys. And I've said this so many times and I sent it to a few people. It was $125,000 down. Now it is income based, but the income levels are not as extreme as, let's just say, like EBT or Medicaid. So you could have one person making maybe 75 to $80,000 that would still have qualified for that. It is a grant, and then you just have to stay in as a primary residence for 5 years, and then it's forgiven over 20% a year. So I do agree with you on that regard. That is what I wanted to contribute. I'm not really sure how we can take care of that other than to just kind of get the word out and let people know. And as soon as they start to be around a certain age, just kind of let them know that there are resources to get them in place. Or Scotty, but Scotty is a realtor, but you're probably one of the better ones. You actually tell people about these programs, correct? But Scotty is one of the better realtors that's out
Wait,
there.
that I tell people about these programs?
The down payment assistance programs.
No. But
Oh,
that's the
Spiritus, I'm
well, I
Yo,
sorry.
mean, no, no, no. Well, no,
Dang,
I'll tell
Spiritus.
you,
that's
I'll tell
funny.
you why, because I don't. what I do is super duper niche, and the people that I work with wouldn't qualify. The only programs out there that they could qualify for are the ones that like a Wells Fargo was for first time, and that could be like 5 or 10 grand. But it's not anything administered through the state. And that's because just in the specific market I deal with, it's just people aren't doing that. I do research it for people like friends or people that are looking maybe in the far outer boroughs or somewhere else. So I am aware of them, but the clients that I deal with don't typically have.
And then the other
He's
thing too, when
bougie.
you have a professional license, like a brokerage license, you're not going to be giving a lot of financial advice. You're going to stay away from that, and legal advice too. So you have to be careful on those lines. You can kind of point people in the right direction, but you gotta be.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you guys for
wow.
keeping me in scope, guys. I was just, I ain't gonna go on no long spiel, but in New York, um, it's just, wait, there's so many programs, it's like mind-boggling. And I think, those that are purchasing, you just gotta, there's a lot of education that has to take place. I believe the reform is right. That education, that understanding should take place much earlier in our lives. Um, you shouldn't have to become an adult to even have an idea how to go about that process. But like in New York, there are just too many programs to count. Like I always hear something new. I'm on this app, I hear new programs. It's just a lot. And we just got to be diligent in educating ourselves and exploring what is actually out there if you're going down that path. But like Spirit was saying, Scott was saying, the niche that he deals with, they're outside of that type of pathway towards ownership. But that's it. I'm gonna go back on you. I just got triggered about New York and like how it is in New York, and just encouraging people to get in where you fit in and that kind of thing. So I'll go back on mute.
No, Britt, there is another room because apparently I'm not a man, so I can't yell and scream and, threaten people for longer than 2 minutes at a time. And of course, Concrete is very treasured and he cannot be booted from the stage, even though it is clear that he Googles things and presents a lot of misinformation. As you guys may or may not know, I really get triggered about financial misinformation. And he was disrespectful, so I removed him. And apparently the patriarchy is upheld by people. So there is another room.
Which room?
If you
'Cause-
guys would like to go, there is another politically correct room.
oh,
So
okay, got
Nah,
it. Okay,
Reformed, I
well,
want to
thank
hang
you.
out with you. You're stable.
I don't know about stable,
I'm
but
stable right now for the
right now,
um
but yeah,
yeah.
that was a heated debate earlier. That whole thing was crazy.
Man, Mickey,
Yeah.
because you my dog, you know you gonna remain my dog, man. I just tried to just bow out as gracefully as a nigga could. You feel me?
Yeah, and this is
Yeah.
the thing, Rob. What we
Oh wait, before y'all go there, just 1 second. Tiffany, did that take care of you? Because I know that was actually a really, really, really good question, and I'm glad that the conversation was brought up, not only about New York real estate, but just first time home buyers. The cost of living is increasing. Did y'all see that the average price for a car, it was 500, it's already increased to $750. What is it? Spiritus, the average cost of a new home is now around what,
Uh,
350 to 400,000?
no, I think the average price of a home I thought was around 481. Am I wrong?
Ooh,
I think it's
what?
like
I have to check that.
385 nationally.
385. It's really
Oh,
high,
is
but
it?
that's what we're saying. It's really high. So we know that consumer debt is out of control. It's the highest it's ever been. We're starting to see foreclosures trickle in. We're starting to see all of this unemployment. We still have a little bit of high inflation. So what does all this mean? It might not be a recession, but things are going to continue to be expensive. So thank you, Tiffany. I thought that was a great submission because I feel like we do have to kind of take up the slack. There are these government programs. And thank you, P, for mentioning that about the realtors. I never thought about that as financial advice. But, I know if you're in Houston, basically, y'all send me a back channel. I'm happy to help you look up things. There's even programs like I just saw something for Sugarland, which is a county in Houston. Like if you are a senior citizen, they will give you certain amounts of money to like $20,000 to repair your roof because we have a lot of hurricanes. So just think about it. If there's all kinds of resources out there, but I wanted to give Tiffany an opportunity to respond. Because yeah, I do wish we just did it. We, meaning those services, those industries, those agencies did a better job of getting this information.
Yeah, it answered my question. I was just mostly interested to hear if other people were having that experience. I feel like I try to like keep my eye on real estate because I know that it's one of those things where there's not going to be more of it available per se. I mean, yeah, they can start knocking down trees and building more. But a lot of the times I think people miss opportunities to become homeowners or to become in some form invest in the space because they don't hear about it. The trends are things they're really not paying attention to. Even like looking around your own neighborhood to realize whether or not you have more like young couples moving in, are more people that are moving in like 40, 50, are they single? Like all these things I just try to keep an eye on, and I wondered if other people were in that same kind of frame of mind.
Anybody else in that same kind of frame of mind?
Well, I
It's
heard someone mention Sugarland, and I have two nieces in that area, Missouri City and South Houston. It could potentially be still Harris County or nearby Harris County, Texas. City of Houston. Judge Al Green came from Houston and went to Missouri City and became a champion of politics, and eventually a congressman, and eventually standing up on the inaugural during the Trump speech, and and I guess expressed his disregard for that form or style of government, as did John Lewis, the good trouble guy. And that area again is developing. Anything south of Alameda, Alameda is I guess south. It's still South Texas, but it's a great place to grow up and raise a family there. Nearby, Kirby John Caldwell builds whole communities right there in Houston, and he's the guy that gave the speech, the black clergy or the minister that gave one of the speeches during the Bush administration when Bush II, George W. Bush was sworn in. He gave Kirby John Caldwell the right to give that, and he gave a fantastic speech, by the way. So I'm just, proud to be associated with that part. My great uncle is Jack Yates. He has a high school. We have a church in the First Ward, and I'm proud to be associated with Texas and Houston, and it's a great place to live and great place to raise your children. My son just made magna cum laude there at Texas Southern, and his commencement address was addressed by Sheila Jackson Lee before she passed. Judge Al Green, a standing congressperson, and at that time Sylvester Turner, the mayor, all graduates of Texas Southern University. So to tell me what a HBU can produce, then you have to talk to them to convince them otherwise. I'll land my plane on the facts and say my.
Yeah, thank you so much. A lot of people are flocking to Houston, Texas, it's all over. Things are expensive, but honestly, y'all, it's probably a little bit more expensive everywhere. I mean, it's just, this is my thoughts. This is a global economy, global society. These tariffs have definitely not helped because that was on everything from, building materials to steel to labor, right? Think about even the labor, like I'm in Houston and I didn't even know this because again, I was doing the Clubhouse thing. I was going by what I could see and come to find out, y'all, that Houston was one of the biggest cities for ICE arrests. Did anybody hear that? So, I don't know what side of town they're going on, maybe the north side or the east side, but apparently, they've really been arresting and harassing a lot of people in Houston. And they've already been reports that at, these construction sites that people are simply not showing up. So they don't even have enough workers, right? And that's not something that you can just YouTube your way into building a frame. Well, people probably do, but I don't know so much about inspection. So, yeah, these are serious issues. But okay, Mohamedou, and I see that Rob is gone. I don't
Yeah.
I'm Yeah, I'm sorry y'all for that last conversation. I'm not really sure why that became so triggering. I don't know why it became so triggering yesterday. We were just talking about schools and, a kid that
Mhm.
wanted to get an engineering degree, but
Yeah, the reason
We
why
can move on. Wait, are we going back to
I want to
this?
just say a
Okay, go
no,
couple
ahead.
of things about
Mohamedou
that,
had a
if that's
statement and then
okay.
that's it.
Oh,
If you
okay.
would like to, and then
It'll be
yeah,
a very
No.
short
Oh
comment.
no, no. After that, I just wanted to throw out just a quick thing based on the old conversation that Tiffany was bringing up. Even though she's not here, she's in the audience, which is fine. I just wanted to make a couple quick points, and then we can move on. But go ahead, Mom.
Yeah, I think that was a personal issue that was being externalized. It was not about facts or data or which school is Ivy adjacent versus elite versus any of that. That's why I disengaged. You saw that they were like, "Do you want to have this conversation?" I was like, "Actually, no." Because I knew what was going on. This had nothing to do with facts. It had everything to do with insecurity that was being externalized and channeled sideways as opposed to directly. And as a chaplain, I know how to read those moments, and that's why I just disengaged. It's also not an accident that the conversation that we had without a certain person yesterday was productive and fact based, right? So I think I'm not saying anything people don't already know, but it's important to read the dynamics and not have a conversation for the sake of having a conversation and knowing when to pull back and when to engage. That's it.
well, thank you.
Okay.
Um, Pastor Mohamedou, there, chaplain, Mr. Mr. Man, and Mr. the man of the cloth, Spiritus.
All I was saying, and like trying to, again, this is not my specific niche in real estate, but I understand it. I've read about it and all of that. And in terms of people that are looking to buy homes, or to buy a home rather, and they're curious about certain neighborhoods, like, hey, is this neighborhood going to blow up or whatever it is? What people sometimes just read stuff and like, oh yeah, this is the hottest community, whatever. But what other people that investors that are maybe looking like whether or not they're going to build there, or just regular people looking to see like, hey, is this place going to grow? Um, and the couple like things that they look at real quickly is like, what is the city doing? Like, for example, are they putting in bike lanes? Dog parks is another one. Like how many dogs are in the neighborhood? It is a thing. um they look at like, is the PTA, like how much do they fundraise, like all of these like little things that you can use to determine like, hey, how strong is the community, is it investing in itself? Then you have to think about like public transportation, things like that. They have a Trader Joe's index as well, like because what Trader Joe's and Whole Foods does, Whole Foods, obviously more upscale, but what they do is, they scope out, they have their whole team of analysts like scope out where they're going to put the next one. And that can actually impact real estate values. So if you know that a Trader Joe's may be going into an area or something like that, that may be an area you want to look into. If you know that the city or the state is investing in a certain public transportation, or putting in parks or putting in whatever it is infrastructure, these may be good areas to invest in the future to maybe buy a home. So those are like little factors. There's all sorts of like little factors that we don't think about, the coffee shops and small businesses, maybe even a stupid sushi place. I don't know. But, well beyond just like, a New York Times or real estate article or something where you may get like broad strokes about something. So it's a lot of interesting stuff that you could look into to determine whether or not, hey, is this community going to be worth investing in?
No, I agree, and I think that's a good point. And it's kind of interesting when we talk about like real estate, y'all, and like the issues just with first time home buyers and expenses. It's almost like that age old conversation, like about gentrification. Some people think that bringing in these, like now it's like an Aldi's, right? Or a Starbucks into an area is going to increase property values or, you know, what do they call it? Curb appeal or make that neighborhood better, improve the blight, but then, it is going to make things more expensive. But I'm curious to hear, y'all's
Mm,
comments. I definitely don't want this to be like a one-sided convo. I had
okay.
something else that I had actually pulled earlier. I was so proud of myself. It was about the I'm gonna put it in the chat actually. It was about I pulled about the 10 governors races to watch for next year. Apparently there are 36 governors elections. Patty was probably with family having fun today, but I put that article in the chat if anyone wanted to look at it. And also, just in vein of this conversation, did y'all know that they're actually starting to try to address Congress investing the fight over the stock trading ban in Congress? So I have an article for that. I don't know if y'all have been keeping up with that, but people so I guess people have been complaining about this a lot. um a la Nancy Pelosi. So Rep Anna Paulina Luna of Florida introduced a discharge petition in December to force action on a bill from Reps Chip Roy of Texas and Seth Magaziner, Rhode Island, Democrat, that would prohibit lawmakers, their spouses, dependent children, and trustees from owning, buying, or selling individual stocks. The bill is dubbed the Restore Trust in Congress Act, also requires current members of Congress to divest from all covered assets at fair market value within 180 days and incoming members to do so within 90 days. So the discharge petition garnered 74 signatures as of December 24th, well short of the 218 required for it to advance. So I'm just putting that in there. We know that they're not going to do this. So divesting from all covered assets would mean that they would have to liquidate these assets. And, they would probably just have to invest in like some mutual funds or something. But anywho, I thought that was interesting as we're talking about investing and, all this insider trading. Like, y'all know that you can literally follow Nancy Pelosi's trades. And apparently the portfolio does quite well, like over 100% for 2025. So shout out to y'all that were actively following, Pelosi's trades.
I have a question, Reform. This may be a slightly off topic, but still related to housing. BlackRock seems to be swooping up and buying up all kinds of properties and then raising rent like crazy. How much is that affecting the current market?
Can I
So,
take that one?
yeah.
You have to look at how much they're actually buying. I think they own like some people say up to 3%, some people say 0.05%. And is it Blackstone or BlackRock? I get those two mixed up. But anyway, there are other groups that are local because a big issue, right, would be managing those homes from wherever they are they need. So sometimes they'll do it through other local entities that own a lot and then they build to rent single family homes is what we're talking about, right? But that's still not that much. The way I see it, and I'm in the development side and the commercial side, is that everything like kind of feeds into our conversation that we were just having with Tiffany, is that everything is so expensive and margins are so thin for the builders. It's not like people are just raising rents sky high for no reason. If you want to try to build your own home, it's going to cost you a lot, which is probably why, like, for Tiffany, it would be like jumping in on crypto now or gold, right? It's really late in the, or it's been high for a long time and it seems to keep getting higher. But anyway, uh they they don't, I think that a lot of the economy is kind of frozen too or unsure, and they don't know where else to put their money. Like a lot of the REITs are in data centers. some is in the single family home. I think 20% of it
Yeah,
is in data
storage
centers.
So
facilities. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like waiting. It's these industries that are like waiting to pull the trigger, like where supply is constrained for whatever reason. But because housing supply is really constrained, it's a good place to park your money for a little bit of time. And then if you can scale, you can handle some of the margins that you're getting on these homes, which are not huge. And so I don't think that I think once the supply becomes unconstrained, then we will see less of um, the big boys coming in to buy this stuff to rent it
Yeah,
by.
and
yeah, can I
let me add
yeah,
to
and can
that.
I jump in afterwards,
Yeah, yeah,
Scott?
sure. Let me.
Thank you.
No, I just want to add on the accuracy. So yes to what P said, and also it's only like institutional investors are only a couple percent. Like it's super out there in the media that they're impacting all of this. So what a lot of people are feeling why they are impacted is because that 2 to 3% of the ownership are in maybe hot and very competitive areas. So what you may see is yes, there may be certain neighborhoods that have a higher percentage of that, but nationwide it's only about 2 to 3% in terms of institutional investors. But in competitive neighborhoods, it may be more, and that's why it feels like they are, they're having an impact on the prices being a lot higher. So I hope that helps.
Yeah. So thank you. So I'm gonna speak on two fronts. Well, let me start from where we just left off at. It's Blackstone, as GA had have put in the chat, and Reformed has placed above a link for this increased purchase of properties and land by giant companies. And I think we have yet to see the other side of that. Like the purchases have happened, but we haven't seen whether or not that investment that these companies have made is yielding any substantial margins, right? That the jury is still out on that. I think we probably won't know until a few years from now when people start really going to those areas. Um, and side note, before I get to what I was going to say, you look at Hudson Yards here in New York. It was touted one way, but the reality is when it was time for it to open up, they had to put additional work in attracting uh, tenants, right? Particularly commercial tenants, because everyone thought this would be a win-win, but they discovered that they had to do a lot more work in terms of selling a value proposition to many of the retailers, because you people were going there, walking around in the malls, enjoying looking, but it didn't actually result in sales. So you've seen a lot of initial retailers shut down shop. I mean, the turnover has been crazy, and so they've gone down the route of having more activations on the outer perimeter of the property and attracting folks that way. So now people are becoming